Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
This time we're going to dig into a story that's equal parts fascinating and kind of unsettling. It's about Sean Diddy Combs. You know the guy.
Yeah.
We thought we knew his brand of cool. Turns out there might be more to the story. We've got our stack of articles and court filings, and let me tell you, this is not your average celebrity scandal.
No, not at all.
So what's so fascinating about Diddy is how he built this image. The music mogul, the fashion icon, he seemed practically invincible. But lately, it's like watching a carefully constructed tower start to crumble. And it all seems to trace back to one event in November 2023.
Right.
Remember when R&B singer Cassie filed that lawsuit? That was like the first tremor. Even for people who don't really follow legal dramas, it was hard to ignore.
Yeah, that was huge.
And it wasn't just the allegations themselves, which were serious enough on their own. It was how quickly it was settled. One day. You only usually see settlements happen that fast when someone's trying to hide something, right?
Yeah, usually when there's a lot to hide, for sure.
Even with a confidentiality agreement in place, that kind of quick resolution makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what's really going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, you can't help but wonder.
And wouldn't you know it, almost right after that, boom, 2 more lawsuits.
Oh, yeah.
This was right before the deadline for New York's Adult Survivors Act. For those who don't know, this act is really groundbreaking. It gives adults who were abused years ago, even decades ago, a chance to have their case heard in court.
It's a big deal.
Exactly. So these lawsuits were timed perfectly with that deadline. And suddenly these accusations, all stemming from Diddy's inner circle back in the 90s, had a legal avenue.
Wow.
And these weren't just like contract disputes or disgruntled business partners. These were deeply personal accusations, alleging a pattern of manipulation and abuse of power.
Yeah, and we're talking about someone who built his entire empire on his image.
Exactly. Remember how Diddy built his empire? It wasn't just about talent. It was about this aura of success and invincibility. And these lawsuits weren't just a legal threat. They were a threat to his entire persona.
They really were.
All of a sudden, it wasn't just the court of law he had to worry about. It was the court of public opinion.
Right.
Remember when he stepped down from Revolt TV? His own network.
I know.
That's not a decision you make lightly, especially when you're known for being a savvy businessman.
Definitely not.
And then brands started distancing themselves, worried about the association.
Yeah, it all happened so fast.
It was like a domino effect. You know, one minute you're on top of the world, the next your whole empire's hanging by a thread.
It's true.
But it didn't stop there, did it? Then came those raids in March 2024. Authorities searching his LA and Miami properties. And we're not talking about a few cops showing up with a warrant.
Right.
These were full-on raids, the kind that make headlines and send a message.
Exactly.
And it wasn't just about the lawsuits anymore either. This was a whole investigation.
Yeah, it suddenly became much bigger.
Way bigger. And it got messy, too. His kids and employees were caught in the middle of it.
Oh, wow.
His lawyer even claimed excessive force.
Really?
There was a lot of public outcry about it, especially on social media. People questioning whether the authorities went too far.
Yeah, you know how it is these days. Everyone has an opinion.
It's true. It became this spectacle, this public display of force against a guy who was used to being in control.
It was like the whole power dynamic flipped on him.
Exactly. And through all of this, remember, even more accusations kept coming out.
There were just more and more.
It was like every day there was someone else. Some of them were from people who claimed to have seen Diddy's aggressive behavior firsthand. It was like the floodgates opened.
Wow.
And with every new accusation, it became harder and harder to ignore. Now, to be fair, his legal team wasn't just sitting back.
Right.
They were fighting back, especially against those older accusations. They claimed some people were just trying to cash in on his success.
Yeah, I can see that.
And that's where it gets tricky. Because when you're dealing with allegations from so long ago, it can be hard to figure out the truth.
Absolutely.
Especially with someone like Diddy, where millions, even billions of dollars are at stake. It's hard to know what's really motivating people.
For sure.
But then something happened. Something that went beyond the legal battles and accusations.
What was that?
June 2024. The mayor of New York City demanded Diddy return the key to the city.
Whoa.
That's not just symbolic, is it? That's a huge deal.
It is.
A public statement that you've messed up big time.
Definitely.
And then Howard University, they revoked his honorary degree.
Wow.
This wasn't about lawsuits anymore. This was about institutions taking a stand, distancing themselves from someone they once celebrated.
So they were basically saying, we don't care if you're found guilty or not. We don't want to be associated with you.
Exactly. And that's what's so interesting about all of this. These actions weren't tied to any legal outcome. It was like they were making a judgment call based on public opinion.
Which is really saying something.
It shows you how much public opinion matters,
Mm.
because even if you're never found guilty in a court of law,
Right.
your reputation can be ruined.
Ex-
And this was all happening while the Me Too movement was gaining momentum, which for all its complexities really changed how we talk about power and accountability.
Absolutely.
People were paying attention to these kinds of accusations in a whole new way, and they weren't letting powerful men get away with bad behavior anymore.
It was a long time coming.
I think so too. Even if you didn't believe all the accusations against Diddy,
Right.
even if you believed he was innocent until proven guilty, you couldn't deny that things were changing.
The world is
The
different.
world was different. But just when you thought things couldn't get any crazier,
Oh.
they did. September 2024. It was like
Yeah.
something out of a movie. Diddy arrested in New York City. And this wasn't about those lawsuits anymore. You know, those he said, she said battles over money and reputation.
Right.
This was criminal court, with the very real possibility of Diddy going to jail.
Yeah, things got real serious real fast.
It really did. It felt like everything had been building to this moment. The lawsuits, the raids, the accusations, it all culminated in this very public fall from grace.
And I think the craziest part is this one event just completely changed the narrative. We went from talking about his businesses, his music,
Right.
to, oh my God, is Diddy going to prison?
Exactly. It really makes you think, no matter how rich or powerful you are, the legal system can catch up with you.
No one is above the law, right?
Exactly.
But I think this situation really made everyone ask themselves, what if he's found guilty? What happens to his whole empire then? What happens to Diddy's legacy?
It's almost like a Shakespearean tragedy, this incredible rise and then this potential fall. You have this young, ambitious kid from Harlem. He takes over the music world, builds this incredible business, becomes a cultural icon, and then suddenly he's facing criminal charges. His whole future up in the air.
And I think that's what makes this case so fascinating. It goes beyond just Diddy. It makes us think about power and fame.
And whether success can really protect you from the consequences of your actions.
Exactly.
It's a question that's been around forever, hasn't it?
Hmm.
Can you separate the art from the artist? Can you enjoy the music knowing what we know now?
Yeah. It's tough. There's no easy answer.
Not at all.
And I think that's why this whole thing has resonated with so many people. It's not just about Diddy. It's about us. It's about our values, our own beliefs about forgiveness and accountability.
Yeah, it's like holding up a mirror to society
Yeah.
and asking, okay, how do we handle this? What are our standards? Especially when it comes to people we admire.
Exactly. Especially when it's someone who seems larger than life.
So as we try to make sense of all of this, the accusations, the court battles, public opinion, it leaves us with a lot to think about.
It really does.
And what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
I think the biggest takeaway for me is this is far from over. This whole saga with Diddy is still unfolding. And whatever happens will have a huge impact. It'll change how we view power and fame for years to come.
It's a story that will definitely keep evolving. And as we learn more, it forces us to confront some hard truths about ourselves, about our society, about what it means to be successful. It really makes you think. As always, we encourage you to keep digging, keep asking those tough questions, and keep forming your own conclusions as this story continues to play out. Until next time, thanks for taking this deep dive with us.